The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, is widely known to have a top 10 list which consists of its most wanted fugitives from justice, which they reveal to the public to increase the notoriety of the people on it. The list gets newly updated whenever someone is taken off of it, either after they were arrested, were dead, or the charges against them were dropped. In order to make it more difficult for these men or women to hide anywhere in the world, as well as to make it easier for law enforcement to get their hands on them, there's usually a bounty on their heads. The FBI want to catch them so badly that they're offering up millions of dollars just for information leading to their capture. Bounty hunters, be prepared. Palak Patel. On April 12, 2015, in a community which houses the largest percentage of Asian Americans in the Anne Arundel County of the United States, a grisly discovery was made at a Dunkin' Donuts store. Customers arrived as usual at the Dunkin' Donuts store, however, something was off. No one came to serve them. Growing concerned, the customers approached a police officer who happened to be in the area, and he decided to check out the scene. Upon a quick search of the store, the officer came upon a horrifying sight: the body of a young woman who appeared to have been stabbed repeatedly, the killer at large. The seemingly innocent coffee and donut shop was now a grisly crime scene. The police proceeded to check the CCTV footage, which revealed that it was indeed the young woman's husband, Patel, who had committed such a gruesome murder. Patel got married to his wife, Palak, in 2015, and the couple subsequently traveled to the United States to visit their relatives. At the time, Patel was 24 years old, and his wife was 21. On the night of April 12, 2015, Palak and his wife were working the night shift at a Dunkin' Donuts, a store owned by a relative of Patel whom the couple were visiting. From the surveillance footage, Palak and Patel were seen walking in the kitchen at around 9:30 p.m. before vanishing out of sight behind some racks. A little while late, Patel walked out alone without his wife. Where was Palak? The grim truth: she would never come out again. She had just been brutally murdered by her husband, Patel. He quickly turned off the oven and left the store. 21-year-old Palak was discovered by the police after she had been beaten to death and stabbed multiple times with a large kitchen knife. According to investigators, Palak had wanted to return to India, but Patel was insistent on remaining in the United States. Moments before Palak was murdered, Patel overheard her talking with her family on the phone about her intended return to India. Police believe that this was the reason Palak was murdered. After the murder, Palak fled the store, and on foot, he returned to his apartment, which wasn't far off from the store where he and his wife had worked. He packed up some of his personal items and got in a taxi, which took him to an airport in Newark, New Jersey. According to the taxi driver, Patel was very calm and collected throughout the entirety of the journey. He was seen on surveillance video paying cash at the counter for a room that he checked into at a hotel in Newark. Patel was last seen on the morning of April 13, 2015, around 10 a.m. at Newark Penn Station in New Jersey. After taking a hotel shuttle to the station, he disappeared, and he has not been seen even to this day. It is believed that he could have either fled the country or his relatives could be hiding him. By the time Patel murdered Palak, his visa to be in the United States had expired, making it almost impossible for him to legally leave the country. The FBI have placed a reward of up to $250,000 for anyone who provides information that leads to his whereabouts. Alexis Flores. In the summer of 2000, a homeless drifter by the name Carlos was provided with shelter, clothing, and work as a handyman by Hunting Park, Philadelphia resident Jorge Contreras. Not long after, a 5-year-old girl named Iriana de Jesus was reported missing. 5 days after she was reported to have been missing, her body was found in the basement of an empty apartment building where Carlos is believed to have stayed. It was discovered that she was sexually assaulted, strangled, and wrapped in a trash bag. A t-shirt bearing a distinct political logo was found near Iriana's body, and it had bloodstains on it, Iriana's blood. The police were quick to question Contreras about it, and he confirmed that it was indeed one of the clothes he had lent to Carlos, who had been at large since the little girl was reported missing. Carlos automatically became the prime suspect, and a sketch of the guy was profiled on America's Most Wanted. However, in 2002, a man named Flores was arrested for shoplifting in Arizona. 2 years after this, the police came to Flores's residence in response to a noise complaint. Subsequently, Flores was arrested for being in possession of a forgery device after he had handed over fraudulent identity documents to the police, a crime considered a felony in Arizona. When he was arrested, Flores was noted to have had a welcoming demeanor. He was friendly and cooperated with the police during questioning. Things started to get a little creepy when police visited his apartment. Upon entering his apartment, officers couldn't help but notice pornography spread out across the floor. Flores told immigration officials that he had lived in Schaumburg, Illinois, prior to living in Phoenix. He had his DNA sample taken and was jailed for 60 days, and was then then deported to Honduras after his release in June 2005. In 2006, Flores's DNA sample, which was taken at the time of his arrest, was added to the combined DNA index system. Later, in March 2007, his DNA sample was found to be a positive match with the DNA found at the crime scene in Philadelphia. The pieces had come together. Carlos and Flores are one and the same person. On March 22, 2007, police issued a local arrest warrant in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, charging Flores with murder and a bunch of other felonies. He was added to the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives list on June 2, 2007, and there's a $250,000 reward for information leading directly to his capture. Donald Eugene Fields II. Donald Eugene Fields, the second addition to the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives list, was made known by Special Agent Jay Greenberg, U.S. Attorney Sailor Fleming, and Franklin County Sheriff Stephen Pelton. He is a native of Kentucky, and his alleged crimes include child trafficking and child rape. Donald was 59 years old when he was indicted in the U.S. District Court in St. Louis. Cases of child trafficking often involve two or more parties, and Donald's co-offender, Theodore John Sartori Sr., was indicted on the same charges as Donald. He was arrested, and he pleaded not guilty in December 2022. According to the indictment, both men knowingly made attempts to recruit, entice, provide, patronize, and solicit a minor into engaging in a commercial sex act from about January 2013 until June 2017. Sartori provided cash, cars, motorcycles, vacations, and Christmas presents to Donald in exchange for access to the victim. In addition to his other charges, Donald is also facing charges, including statutory rape, statutory sodomy, child molestation, and witness tampering in Franklin County Circuit Court. Donald failed to show up for the hearing on March 3, 2022, and ever since then a warrant has been issued for his arrest. Concerned investigators say that he is a serious problem, a serious threat to the community, and he is a significant predator that needs to be taken off the streets. According to a special agent in the FBI's St. Louis division, Fields has allegedly demonstrated a pattern of abusing minor females in his circle that are entrusted to his care, manipulating them to earn their trust quickly and using their own resources to take advantage of them. Simultaneously, the Phelps County prosecuting attorney is hot in pursuit of a 30-year-old woman named Jennifer Isgriggs, who is believed to be on the run alongside Donald, who is now a fugitive. She is wanted for the felony of neglecting to pay child support. Her last known address is in Phelps County. She also goes by the name Jennifer Fields and is believed to be in a romantic relationship with Donald. Fields has been known to frequent casinos. He has worked as a tree trimmer, a resale shop owner, and an independent used car dealer. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $250,000 for information leading to Fields' arrest, and a conviction isn't even necessary for the reward. They just want to get a hold of the guy. Arnoldo Jimenez. Couples fight, and that's a normal thing. What's not normal, however, is partners killing each other over an argument when it's not even been a full 24 hours since the couple got married. Hard as it might be to believe, that was indeed the case with Arnoldo Jimenez. Jimenez and Estrella Carrera got married on May 11, 2012 at Chicago City Hall. By this time, Carrera had a 9-year-old daughter from a previous relationship and a 2-year-old son with Jimenez. After the wedding, the couple had dinner with friends and family that night and decided to go party at a nightclub, which they left around 4 a.m. On the morning of May 12th, the FBI believed that while on their way home, the couple got into a heated argument that ended when Jimenez fatally stabbed Carrera multiple times in his car and subsequently dragged her body into her apartment, where he dumped her body in the bathtub and fled. All of this transpired while Carrera was still wearing the very same silver dress she wore to her wedding. Her concerned family members reported her missing after she didn't arrive to pick up her children from them on May 12th. She was eventually found in the bathtub in her apartment on the afternoon of May 13th. The police confirmed that there was no sign of a forced entry, making it highly likely that she knew her killer. Seeing as Jimenez was the last person she was seen with, he automatically became the first suspect. As you may have already guessed, Jimenez was nowhere to be found. Jimenez was charged with first-degree murder on May 15th, 3 days after he'd done the unthinkable to his wife. After he was charged with an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, a federal warrant was issued. Upon tracking Jimenez, investigators found that on May 12th, he used his cell phone in Chicago, then Southern Illinois. It was later used in Memphis, Tennessee, and then in Arkansas. On May 13th, he had made calls from Houston and then in Hidalgo, Mexico. Jimenez's brother, Humberto, was arrested on drug-related crimes in September 2012. However, as police searched his apartment, they made an unexpected discovery. They found Jimenez's black Maserati stowed away in the garage, along with traces of blood which were found in the car. The presence of the blood stains in the car was what led investigators to the conclusion that the murder did in fact take place within the confines confines of Jimenez's car, after which he dragged Carrera's body into the bathtub in her apartment. It is believed that Humberto drove Jimenez to Mexico in his car and left him there. What exactly drove Jimenez to commit such a horrifying act remains a mystery. The answers will only ever come to light when Jimenez is caught and confesses, unless he already gave his brother all the details and he confesses. The FBI believes Jimenez is still hiding in Durango, Mexico, specifically in the area of Santiago Papasquiaro. He may also be hiding in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Mexico. There is a $250,000 reward for information leading directly to his capture. Wilver Villegas Palomino. Wilver is a ranking member of the National Liberation Army, or Ejército de Liberación Nacional, ELN. They are a transnational criminal organization and foreign terrorist organization. The National Liberation Army is a Marxist-Leninist guerrilla group involved in the continuing Colombian conflict, which has existed in Colombia since 1964. The ELN advocates a composite communist ideology of Marxism-Leninism and liberation theology. In 2013, it was estimated that the ELN forces consisted of between 1,380 and 3,000 guerrillas. Founded in 1964, the National Liberation Army was originally led by a series of Roman Catholic priests who were exponents of liberation theology. The most notable of these priests was Camilo Torres Restrepo. After he was killed during his first combat as a guerrilla of the National Liberation Army, he became known as an exemplary soldier, one to be emulated by the other guerrillas. In the years following its foundation, the National Liberation Army brought together students, young activists, and peasants, and the army has continued its operations till this very day. There have been peace talks over the years, but they have often resulted in continued conflict. However, in March 2020, the National Liberation Army declared a unilateral ceasefire during the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. Even though it has been asserted that the National Liberation Army lost 700 members through targeted attacks, they are still going strong with 2,500 armed combatants. Another peace negotiation began in 2022 and is still underway. Now Wilver directs the National Liberation Army Northeastern War Front, which boasts 6 regional ELN war fronts that control the Catatumbo area of Colombia and Venezuela. The Northeastern War Front of the National Liberation Army oversees various laboratories that mass produce an estimated 200 tons of cocaine annually. These are then transported worldwide, with the proceeds of Wilver's drug trafficking enterprise being used to fund terrorist attacks, launch sabotage operations, buy political influence, and engage in other malign activities designed to destabilize government institutions and subvert U.S. national security and law enforcement interests in the region. His operations have aroused the ire of the United States government, and it has been announced by the FBI that Wilver Villegas Palomino is now one of the people on its 10 most wanted fugitives list. A federal arrest warrant has been issued for his arrest after he was charged with narco-terrorism, international cocaine distribution conspiracy, and international cocaine distribution. According to the FBI Supervisory Special Agent Nick Zaro, Wilver presents a grave threat to the community through his cocaine narco-terrorism empire. Cocaine produced in Villegas Palomino's laboratories ultimately ends up on U.S. streets, plaguing local communities and driving spikes in violent crime. Zaro hopes Wilver's publicity will manage to restrict his operations significantly, as he'll find it difficult to make contact with international drug trafficking associates, hinder his ability to recruit new members, and even make it difficult for him to travel around. The U.S. Department of State Narcotics Rewards Program is offering up to a whopping $5 million for information leading to his arrest and/or his conviction. Eugene Archaga Carias. Eugene Archaga Carias is a Honduran native now, fugitive, drug lord, and a suspected leader of the notorious MS-13 gang in Honduras. He is wanted for racketeering, narcotics trafficking, and firearms offenses. He is also believed to be responsible for ordering the murders of rival gang members. The Mara Salvatrucha, more commonly known as MS-13, is an international criminal gang that originated in Los Angeles, California. Before they grew to become a traditional criminal organization, the MS-13 gang was originally set up to protect Salvadoran immigrants from other gangs in the Los Angeles area. The FBI has battled MS-13 in the United States over the years, employing different tactics to stop them once and for all. In 2004, the FBI created the MS-13 National Gang Task Force to curb all their operations. They also began cooperating with law enforcement in Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico, and set up its own office in San Salvador in February 2005. In 2008, the MS-13 Task task force coordinated a series of arrests and crackdowns in the United States and Central America, which involved more than 6,000 police officers in 5 countries. By 2011, more than 3,000 members of MS-13 were arrested. In 2015, Archaga Carias himself was arrested. After his arrest and conviction of money laundering and illicit association, he was imprisoned in Honduras. On February 13, 2020, Archaga Carias was set to be transferred to attend a court hearing in the city of El Progreso, but there were some changes in protocol that should have never happened. He was transported by van, even though for these types of criminals, the normal mode of transportation is by helicopter. On top of that, he was barely accompanied by any security guards. As protocol dictates, the military police should be given prior notice when such a high-profile inmate is being moved from one location to another. However, that was not the case. In this situation, I think you already know where I'm going with this. Upon arriving at the courthouse, an MS-13 squad barged in and facilitated his escape in a hail of bullets. Surveillance footage showed the 2 groups of men dressed in military police uniforms arriving on the scene. The first group was escorting a man in handcuffs who turned out to be a false prisoner, a decoy used to divert attention. The second group was escorting a man dressed in a black tunic that is commonly used to protect the identity of a witness or victim. That was not the case, as that time around, it was being used to hide weapons and ammunition. They managed to pull off a daring, clever rescue mission, and without much hassle. On November 3, 2021, Archaga Carias was placed on the 10 most wanted fugitives list. On February 8, 2023, the United States federal government mounted more pressure on Archaga Carias with a reward of $5 million up for grabs for anyone who provides information leading to his arrest. Alejandro Rosales Castillo. Castillo was born on November 26, 1998 in Arizona. In 2016, when he was 17 years old, Castillo worked at a Shomar's restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina, alongside 23-year-old Truquan Lile, or Sandy. Reportedly, the two of them briefly dated, and at some point, Sandy lent Castillo some money which he never paid back to her. After he and Sandy split, Castillo began dating another co-worker, 19-year-old Amia Feaster. On August 9, 2016, Castillo texted Sandy saying that he would like to repay the money she had previously lent to him. Sandy agreed to meet Castillo at a quick trip located on the Eastway Drive in Charlotte, unaware that things were about to take a really dark turn. That afternoon, Feaster, Castillo's new girlfriend, picked Castillo up in her red Dodge Caliber and drove him to the meeting. It is believed that Castillo, instead of repaying Sandy for the debt he owed, forced her to withdraw all the money in her bank account instead, possibly at gunpoint. According to Sandy's uncle, her bank statements showed that a withdrawal of $1,000 was made from an ATM, and after this withdrawal, there wasn't any money left in her bank account. Sandy was last seen alive at the Quick Trip, where she agreed to meet Castillo. Investigators have speculated that Castillo took Sandy to a wooded area in Cabarrus County, where he fired a single shot aimed at Sandy's head, killing her immediately. After dumping her body in a ravine, Castillo and Feaster fled in Sandy's Toyota Corolla. They drove from North Carolina to Phoenix, Arizona, where they parked Sandy's car at a bus shelter where it was found after they'd abandoned it. Castillo and Feaster proceeded to make their way to Nogales, Arizona, from where they crossed the border into Mexico. Surveillance footage was able to capture images of Castillo crossing the border into Mexico. He's not been seen ever since then. The day after she was murdered, Sandy was reported missing. Castillo and Feaster were also reported missing on August 11th and August 12th, 2016. On August 13th, Feaster's Dodge Caliber was found where it was abandoned in the 11000 block of Doolin Creek Boulevard in Charlotte. Later that day, Feaster and Castillo called their worried families to let them know that they were safe, but that they didn't know where they were. This led both families to believe that they were being held captive and forced to make those phone calls. The police discovered Sandy's body in a wooded area in Cabarrus County on August 17, 2016, and they believe the motive for the murder was simply robbery and nothing more. In October of that same year, Feaster turned herself in to authorities in Aguascalientes, Mexico. She got in touch with her mother, who arranged for her to be collected at an airport by the United States authorities. She was extradited back to the United States and was arrested by the Harris County Sheriff's Office near Houston, Texas. She was charged with accessory after the fact of felony murder and larceny of a motor vehicle. Eventually, she was transferred to Mecklenburg County Jail, where she posted bond and was released on January 18, 2017. Castillo, on the other hand, was charged with first-degree murder on November 2, 2016. According to Feaster, she and Castillo had both been staying with Castillo's cousins in Aguascalientes. During the 2 months they were there, at a certain point, Castillo vanished and went missing once again. On February 10, 2017, Castillo was charged with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. A $250,000 reward has been placed for information leading to his capture. Omar Alexander Cardenas. Born on March 23, 1995, Omar Alexander Cardenas is an American fugitive and a suspected member of the Pierce Street Gang in Los Angeles. He was added to the FBI 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list on July 20, 2022, replacing Eugene Palmer, who was removed from the list without being captured, though he remains a wanted fugitive. Cardenas is wanted for the murder of 46-year-old Jabali Dumas, as well as an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. On August 15, 2019, it is suspected that Cardenas shot and killed Jabali Dumas outside of the Hair Icon barbershop in the Sylmar neighborhood of Los Angeles, California. LAPD Chief Michael Moore stated that Cardenas opened fire, firing 9 shots at Dumas from approximately 30 feet away, with one of those shots striking him in the head, resulting in Dumas falling to the ground face forward and dying at the scene. Cardenas was then seen fleeing the scene in his vehicle. It's still unclear if they both knew each other before the incident occurred. Cardenas was charged with the murder in April 2020. The LAPD later determined he had fled the area, and a federal arrest warrant was issued in September 2021. Cardenas has also been charged with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, and the FBI have stated that he may have traveled to Mexico, though they also believe that he may still be residing somewhere in Southern California where he has family and friends. According to the FBI, he may be working as a construction worker. He has used the nickname Dollar, and despite his alleged membership of the notorious Pierce Street Gang, he is also thought to associate with the gang known as Pacoima Van Nuys Boys, Anybody Killas. Cardenas is now the 528th person to be added to the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives list since its inception in 1950. Of the 527 people previously on the list, the FBI has been able to locate and apprehend 492 of them, giving the agency a 93% success rate. They believe that it will not be long before they finally get their man. They hope his addition to the 10 most wanted fugitives list provides enough attention that may eventually lead to his capture. He is to be considered armed and dangerous, and a $250,000 reward is also being offered for information leading to his arrest. Ruja Ignatova. Ruja Plaminova. Ignatova is a Bulgarian-born German citizen and a notorious convicted fraudster. She is best known as the founder of the fraudulent cryptocurrency scheme known as OneCoin, a scheme which has been dubbed one of the biggest scams in history. She is the subject of the 2019 BBC podcast series titled The Missing Crypto Queen, and even a 2022 book bearing the same name. Born in Rus, Bulgaria in 1980 to a Romani family, Ignatova emigrated to Germany with her family when she was 10 years old. In 2005, she earned herself a PhD in private international law from the University of Constance in Germany. In 2012, she was convicted of fraud in Germany in connection with her father after they jointly acquired a company that dubiously went bankrupt, and she was given a suspended sentence of 14 months imprisonment. Later on, in 2013, she was involved with a multi-level marketing scam called Bitcoin. Then in 2014, she founded a pyramid scheme known as OneCoin. Ignatova disappeared on the 25th of October 2017 after she was tipped off about increasing investigations carried out by the police in regards to OneCoin. She reportedly traveled from Sofia, Bulgaria to Athens, Greece, and may have gone elsewhere after that. In 2019, her brother Konstantin Ignatov pleaded guilty to fraud and money laundering in connection with the scheme. After a 2022 search of apartments and offices in Weilburg, Baden-Baden, Frankfurt am Main, Bad Homburg, New Eisenberg, and Vaihingen, the North Rhine-Westphalia Police and German Federal Criminal Police Office announced that Ignatova is sought for fraud charges. She is wanted for allegedly swindling millions of investors of more than $4 billion through the OneCoin cryptocurrency company she founded. She even made an appearance in London's Wembley Arena, touting OneCoin as a lucrative rival to Bitcoin in the ever-growing cryptocurrency market. The Federal Criminal Police Office attached a €5,000 reward for information leading to her arrest, and soon after, an Interpol red notice was issued. Europol reciprocated the listing by adding Ignatova to its most wanted list. However, Deutsche Welle notes that the Europol listing was removed under unknown circumstances. The Federal Bureau of Investigation added Ignatova to its 10 most wanted fugitives list, and the reward for information leading to her arrest was bumped up to $250,000. In November 2018, a report claimed that Ignatova was dead murdered under orders of a Bulgarian drug lord known as Christoforos Amanatidis. The alleged murderer, Hristo Hristov, is currently serving time in a Dutch prison for drug trafficking. The report claimed that Ignatova was murdered on board a yacht in the Ionian Sea, her body dismembered and cast into the sea. The alleged motive for the murder was to hide the drug lord's involvement in the OneCoin scam. Despite all this, a 2022 interview with FBI Special Agent Paul Roberts notes that the agency's investigation into Ignatova is operating under the assumption that she is still alive, with no information to counter that belief. Jose Rodolfo Villarreal Hernandez. Jose is a Mexican drug cartel boss and former fugitive who was added to the FBI 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list on October 13, 2020. He was born in Mexico on January 16, 1978. He eventually went on to become a leader of the Beltran-Leyva cartel. Once one of Mexico's most powerful drug cartels, the Beltran-Leyva cartel had effectively infiltrated the ranks of various Mexican government agencies and even Mexico's Interpol. During a feud with the Gulf cartel, Jose's father was murdered. This infuriated Jose and he sought revenge. His target was the lawyer named Juan Jesus Guerrero Chapa, who had represented the then leader of the Gulf cartel, Osiel Cardenas Guillen. Jose hired himself a crew to assassinate Guerrero, who was living in Southlake, Texas in May 2013. He had become a United States informant who was cooperating with law enforcement, allowing him to legally reside in the United States. Jose's hit crew tracked and located Guerrero, who they found to be living in Southlake. On the evening of May 22, 2013, two hitmen working for Jose tracked Guerrero and his wife to their vehicle while they drove to Southlake Town Square. Guerrero was in the front passenger seat while his wife was placing some bags into the back of the vehicle. The two assassins pulled up behind them in their Toyota Sequoia, and the passenger exited the vehicle in a hoodie and a bandana, went up to Guerrero's car and fired multiple rounds from a 9mm handgun aimed at Guerrero. The shooter then returned to their car, and the assassins escaped. Guerrero was eventually rushed to a local hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Luckily, his wife escaped the shooting completely unharmed, though she now had to bear the devastating loss of her husband. The two assassins remain at large, however. Three men who were connected to the assassination plot have since been arrested for their involvement in the crime. According to witness testimony, Guerrero's enraged sister took revenge against Jose by having one of his relatives beheaded and then sent a video of the severed head to Jose. Talk about an eye. For an eye, Jose Rodolfo Villarreal Hernandez remained in hiding because he was wanted by the FBI for interstate stalking and conspiracy to commit murder for hire. Believed to be hiding in Mexico, a reward of up to $1 million was available for information leading to his capture. He was eventually apprehended in Mexico City on January 7, 2023. If you enjoyed this video, click on the card on your screen for more content like this. See you next time.